We have spent decades obsessed with lithium, a rare and temperamental metal that has dictated the terms of our transition to green energy. But what if the true revolution wasn't found in a rare mineral mine but in a simple grain of salt? Today, we are witnessing a shift that could redefine the global order of transportation, making electric mobility accessible to the billions rather than the few. Before we dive into the frozen plains of Inner Mongolia to see this future in action, I invite you to join our community. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell as we explore the deep technologies shaping our collective tomorrow. Your engagement helps us bring these complex stories to light, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this energy shift in the comments below. The story begins in a place where the air itself feels like a blade in the vast and unforgiving stretches of Inner Mongolia. It is here, amidst the biting winds and temperatures that plummet far below freezing, that a new chapter of the automotive industry has been written. The unveiling of a new class of electric vehicles powered by sodium-ion batteries is not just a technical demonstration, but a genuine inflection point. It signals that this technology has finally escaped the sterile confines of the research laboratory. This is no longer a what-if scenario discussed by scientists in white coats, but a what-is reality being tested against the harshest elements nature can provide. This launch positions us at the threshold of a new era, moving beyond the incremental updates we have grown accustomed to in the lithium-ion age. For years, we have celebrated a 5% increase in range or a slightly faster charging curve as a massive victory. However, history teaches us that true progress is rarely linear. It happens in great leaps. By choosing such an extreme environment for this introduction, the creators are sending a clear message to the world. They are suggesting that the next era of the electric vehicle will be defined by the chemistry inside the floorboards, rather than the software on the dashboard. To understand where we are going, we must first look at where we have been through the lens of a historical framework. The pre-modern era of electric propulsion was defined by lead-acid and nickel-metal hydride batteries, which were heavy, inefficient, and limited in their scope. These were the early fumbling steps of a technology that many believed would never compete with the internal combustion engine. They served their purpose in niche applications, but they lacked the energy density to spark a global movement. They were the prologue to a story that was waiting for a more powerful protagonist to arrive. Then came the modern era, a period defined entirely by the dominance of lithium-ion chemistry. This era changed everything, providing the energy density and longevity required to make long-range electric cars a practical reality for the first time. We saw the rise of global giants and the birth of a new supply chain that stretched from the salt flats of South America to the high-tech factories of East Asia. Yet, even as lithium-ion reached its peak, the limitations of its scarcity and cost became increasingly apparent. It became clear that the next era would require a fundamentally new chemistry, not just a more clever way to optimize the old one. As we look toward this upcoming era, a clear division of labor is beginning to emerge in the world of energy storage. Solid-state batteries, with their incredible energy density and high cost, are being groomed for the premium and luxury markets where performance is the only metric that matters. Meanwhile, sodium-ion technology is positioning itself as the champion of the mass market, the people's battery, if you will. This expectation sets the stage for a world where electric mobility is no longer a luxury for the wealthy, but a standard for everyone. It is a democratization of energy that could change the face of our cities and our lives. The appeal of sodium-ion technology is rooted in a simple, inescapable fact: salt is everywhere. Unlike lithium, which is concentrated in a few volatile regions of the world, sodium can be harvested from the very oceans that surround us. This creates a massive cost advantage, as the raw materials required for these batteries are abundant and incredibly cheap to process. When you remove the bottleneck of material scarcity, you unlock the potential for truly affordable electric vehicles. This is the first and perhaps most significant reason why sodium-ion matters to the average consumer. Beyond the balance sheet, sodium-ion offers a physical resilience that lithium simply cannot match, especially when the temperature drops. We have all seen the headlines about electric cars struggling in the winter, with ranges dropping and charging speeds slowing to a crawl. Sodium-ion chemistry, however, performs exceptionally well in cold weather, maintaining its efficiency when other batteries would falter. This is not just a technical spec. It is a promise of reliability for those who live in climates where winter is a reality rather than an anomaly. Safety is another pillar upon which the sodium-ion argument is built. providing an inherent advantage over traditional lithium chemistries. We are well aware of the risks of thermal runaway in high-energy lithium batteries, a concern that has led to complex and expensive cooling systems. Sodium-ion is naturally more stable, posing a significantly lower risk of fire or explosion during use or in the event of an accident. This positions the technology as a practical, consumer-focused solution that prioritizes peace of mind over the bleeding-edge metrics of luxury tech. It is a philosophy of enoughness that serves the needs of the many. The way this technology was introduced to the world represents a different kind of product launch, one that contrasts sharply with Western philosophies. In the West, we are used to launches that take place in controlled, comfortable environments like the Silicon Valley stages or the sun-drenched hills of Southern California. These events are designed to be perfect, using lighting and choreography to mask any potential flaws in the product. They are exercises in marketing and brand management, where the environment is curated to ensure success. In contrast, Changan Auto deliberately chose the harsh, freezing cold of Inner Mongolia to prove real-world performance. There were no climate-controlled showrooms here, only the raw reality of the tundra and the biting wind. By placing their new vehicle in such a hostile setting, they turned the launch into a live demonstration rather than a mere slide deck claim. It was an act of industrial confidence, a way of saying that if the technology can survive here, it can survive anywhere. This choice of environment reinforces a deep sense of trust in the engineering behind the machine. At the center of this story is a specific vehicle, the Changan Nevo A06, which serves as the physical vessel for this technological shift. It is powered by a sodium-ion pack supplied by CATL, the world's largest battery manufacturer and a dominant force in energy innovation. The Nevo A06 is not a million-dollar hypercar or a conceptual dream. It is positioned as an entry-level mainstream electric vehicle. By grounding the story in a real, mass-produced product, the companies are moving the conversation from someday to today. What makes this launch particularly compelling is that there is an existing version of the same car that uses lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, batteries. This provides a direct apples-to-apples comparison that allows us to see exactly how the new chemistry stacks up against the current industry standard. We can see the trade-offs in real time, observing how the sodium-ion version handles the same roads and the same conditions as its lithium-powered sibling. The production timeline emphasizes commercial readiness, proving that this is a project aimed at the showroom, not the science fair. When we look at the performance numbers, we begin to see the metrics that actually matter to a person living their daily life. While the sodium-ion pack might be smaller in terms of raw energy storage, it delivers a surprisingly competitive usable range. In nominal perfect conditions, the LFP battery might still hold the edge in total distance. However, as soon as the winter conditions set in, the equation begins to flip in favor of sodium. The chemistry of the salt-based battery allows it to retain a much higher percentage of its charge when the mercury drops. This cold weather retention reframes the entire concept of range anxiety as a climate problem, rather than a battery size problem. If a car with a large battery loses half its range in the winter, is it really better than a car with a smaller battery that loses almost nothing? The ability to charge quickly in extreme cold also becomes a decisive differentiator for the consumer. Imagine being able to pull up to a charger in the middle of a blizzard, and knowing your car will accept a full charge in the same time it would during the summer. That is the kind of practical freedom that changes how people view electric transportation. To understand why this works, we have to look deep into the chemistry, where the real battle for efficiency is fought. Sodium ions are physically larger than lithium ions, which presents a significant engineering challenge for the battery's internal structure. You cannot simply swap lithium for sodium in an existing design and expect it to work. The larger ions require different anode materials to move through. This has led to the development of hard carbon, a material that provides the necessary space for sodium ions to intercalate and move freely. While the supply chains for hard carbon are still immature compared to the decades-old graphite industry, they are inherently scalable. The innovation in cathode design has become the true competitive moat among Chinese battery makers, as they race to find the perfect formula for sodium-ion stability. This is a game of molecular chess, where the prize is a battery that is both cheap to make and durable to use. Furthermore, manufacturing compatibility is just as important as the cost of the raw materials themselves. If you can build these batteries on existing production lines, You can scale at a speed that would be impossible for a completely new technology. One of the most fascinating aspects of this chemical evolution is the role of a relatively obscure element called antimony. It has emerged as a quiet enabler, a breakthrough material that helps stabilize the sodium-ion cathodes during the repeated cycles of charging and discharging. By improving life cycle durability, antimony ensures that these batteries don't just work well on day one, but continue to perform for years to come. This addresses one of the primary concerns about new battery chemistries. How long will they actually last in the hands of a consumer? The use of antimony also enables water-based manufacturing processes, which allows these batteries to be made using existing LFP production lines. This is a massive advantage, as it avoids the billions of dollars in capital expenditure required to build entirely new factories. It also helps flatten the voltage curves of the battery, solving a long-standing usability issue where the power delivery would drop off unpredictably as the battery drained. However, this introduces new geopolitical and supply chain considerations, as the world must now look at where antimony is sourced and who controls the flow of this critical stabilizer. Despite the excitement, we must temper our expectations with a dose of market realism regarding cost. In the present moment, sodium-ion is not actually cheaper to produce than the well-established LFP batteries. This is because LFP benefits from massive economies of scale, years of overcapacity, and aggressive price competition among existing manufacturers. The industry has become incredibly efficient at squeezing every cent out of the lithium production process. For sodium-ion, the legendary cost advantage exists mostly in future projections and theoretical models rather than today's invoices. This highlights why timing and scale matter far more than the raw chemistry of the cell. A superior technology can easily be crushed by an inferior one if the latter is already being produced by the hundreds of millions. Sodium-ion is currently in the valley of death, where it must scale up fast enough to realize its cost potential before it runs out of momentum. It is a race against time and against a moving target, as lithium prices continue to fluctuate and LFP technology continues to improve. The success of the Nevo A06 will be a critical test of whether sodium can bridge this gap. We must also be honest about the limitations of this technology, particularly in terms of energy density. Physics is a harsh mistress, and the fact remains that sodium-ion batteries are currently less energy dense than their lithium-ion counterparts. This means that for a battery of the same weight, the sodium-ion car will typically travel a shorter distance in ideal conditions. While the gap is narrowing as researchers find new ways to pack ions more tightly, the fundamental properties of the elements still apply. You cannot cheat the periodic table, and sodium is simply a larger, heavier ion. However, the safety profile and cost potential of sodium-ion can offset this density disadvantage for specific use cases. If you are building a small city car or a delivery van that stays within a specific urban radius, you don't need the massive range of a luxury long hauler. In these scenarios, the fit-for-purpose nature of sodium-ion makes it the superior choice. It is about matching the right tool to the right job, rather than trying to find a one-size-fits-all solution for every driver on the planet. This shift in thinking represents a maturation of the entire electric vehicle industry. It is important to correct the narrative that lithium is dead or that sodium-ion is a total replacement. The future, as envisioned by companies like CATL, is one of a dual chemistry ecosystem where different technologies coexist and even work together. We are seeing the development of mixed battery packs, where sodium-ion and lithium-ion cells are housed within the same enclosure. This hybrid approach allows a vehicle to benefit from the high energy density of lithium and the exceptional cold weather resilience of sodium. This strategic flexibility is a far cry from the technological absolutism we often see in market forecasts. Instead of betting everything on a single horse, the industry is building a diversified portfolio of energy storage solutions. This allows manufacturers to adapt to changing raw material prices and different regional needs without having to redesign their entire vehicle platforms. It is a pragmatic, modular approach to the future of transportation that prioritizes resilience over ideological purity. Looking at the forecasts from experts like Bloomberg New Energy Finance, we see a measured outlook for the coming years. They project that lithium-ion will maintain its dominance through at least 2035. As the infrastructure and supply chains are simply too deep to be replaced overnight. Meanwhile, Wood Mackenzie sees the cost crossover point for sodium-ion where it finally becomes cheaper than LFP happening in the mid-2030s. These timelines serve as an anchor for our expectations, reminding us that industrial evolution is a slow, grinding process. The transition to a new battery chemistry is not just about the science. It's about the massive, inertia-heavy systems of global manufacturing. It takes a decade to build a supply chain from scratch, and even longer to convince an entire industry to switch its primary fuel source. We are watching the first ripples of a wave that will take years to reach the shore. Understanding this timeline is crucial for anyone looking to invest in or understand the future of energy, as it prevents us from being swept away by short-term hype. The struggle for disruption is made even harder by the way incumbent chemistries respond to competition. As sodium-ion begins to emerge as a threat, the lithium industry has responded by slashing prices and finding new ways to improve performance. This creates a challenging environment for startups and new technologies, as the market prices are often undercut before the new players can find their footing. It is a classic example of incumbent defense, where the existing power structures use their scale to keep challengers at bay. There is also a stark contrast between Western capital's short-term outlook and the long-term industrial strategies seen in China. In the West, investors often demand quick returns and clear paths to profitability within a few years. In contrast, the Chinese approach involves decades-long planning, government backing, and a willingness to absorb losses in the name of capturing future market share. This difference in philosophy is perhaps the greatest factor in why we are seeing these breakthroughs happen where they are. It is a reminder that innovation is not just about who has the best engineers, but who has the most patient capital. This is why vehicles like the Changan Nevo A06 matter so much in the grand scheme of things. These early production vehicles act as rolling test platforms, gathering the real-world data that is impossible to replicate in a lab. They are the pioneers that will make the mistakes so that the next generation of cars can be perfect. We should expect there to be hiccups, recalls, and learning curves as this technology matures in the hands of real drivers. This data, far more than any marketing campaign, will be what ultimately determines the speed of global adoption. As we look at the broader battery landscape, we can see that the future is plural rather than singular. Companies like BYD are expected to follow with their own limited-scale sodium-ion launches, while others like General Motors are exploring advanced lithium-manganese chemistries. There is also a push toward lithium-manganese iron phosphate, or LMFP, as another way to reduce costs while maintaining performance. The energy landscape is becoming a tapestry of different solutions, each tailored to a specific niche or market requirement. In the end, the story of sodium-ion is not just about a car or a battery. It is about our ability to adapt and find new paths forward. It teaches us that sometimes the solution to our most complex problems is hidden in the most common things around us. Just as salt has been a fundamental part of human history, once used as currency and a driver of trade, it is now poised to become a pillar of our sustainable future. This reminds us to look at the world with fresh eyes and to never underestimate the power of the abundant over the rare. As you go about your day, think about the systems that power your life and the hidden chemistries that make them possible. Are we too reliant on the rare and the difficult, when the common and the simple might serve us better? This principle applies to more than just batteries. It applies to how we solve problems in our own lives and communities. Sometimes the most resilient and sustainable solutions are the ones that have been right in front of us all along, waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered. Change is often slow, then all at once. We are currently in the slow phase of the sodium revolution, but the momentum is building with every mile driven on the frozen tundra of Inner Mongolia. I hope this exploration has given you a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world, and the quiet breakthroughs that will eventually change how we move. What do you think is the biggest hurdle for new technologies like sodium-ion? Is it the physics, the cost, or the competition? I look forward to reading your insights in the comments. Thank you for spending this time with us today. If you found this journey into the future of energy thought-provoking, please share it with someone who might enjoy it. Your support is what allows us to keep digging into these stories. I wish you all great health, a curious mind, and the resilience to weather any season of change. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the technologies of tomorrow. Until next time, keep looking forward.